he's been there. He's had the war with progress in that World Boxing Super Series final. What a great fight that was as well. So he knows he can go there. He knows he can empty his tank and still be there right at the end of the fight. I think he's progressed and he's a better fighter now than he was at the end of that tournament. So I stick with that. I see him stopping him. Round 9.
Depends, ready. Round 9.
Big fat round 9, Carl.
On video. I think it's only right that we go to our resident North American historian, Graham, next. Graham, give us a prediction.
I really like Josh as well. It's going to be a very evenly matched fight. I agree. You know what? Just a quick backwards jump here for a sec. Because when we were talking about the Canelo Alvarez fight and Billy Joe Saunders, we somewhat predicted it would be an evenly matched fight, but we didn't predict actual physical injury. And it's a real shame that happened. But what I was really disappointed with was the fan reaction to Billy Joe Saunders. You know, that was really disappointing to see that, because when two fighters go head to head like that. Anyway, I digress. But this is the same way I see this fight.
Let me just digress for 1 minute. It was outrageous, some of the comments that come out of North America regarding Billy Joe Saunders quitting.
Oh, honestly,
that's one off the wall comment.
Unfortunately, though, lads, while we're talking about it, we might as well carry on for a little bit. Billy Joe Saunders leaves himself a little bit wide open with things like this, because Daniel Dubois got an eye injury and took a knee.
Yeah.
And Billy Joe Saunders gave it all that afterwards about him quitting and about if he was in the same position, he'd die in the ring rather than quit. Now, I personally don't think he quit at all. He was pulled out by his corner. It's been stated by Ben Davison since that Billy Joe wanted to come out for that next round. That would have been the worst mistake of his career.
Oh, yeah.
Because
that could have been career ending.
Of course, absolutely. And there's no two ways about it. Canelo would have targeted the eye.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. And
so, so the right decision was made, but it was made by his corner, not by him. And I think a lot of people misread that. I think they think that Billy Joe quit and he wanted him, and it was his corner that pulled him out.
I think it yet again, Andy, shows that us over in the UK know a lot more about boxing than North America. Anyway, back to you, Graham. What do you think? Let's go back to a prediction. I've just insulted the entire continent in one sentence. So
that's right. Obviously unforgiving. But no, I mean, if you think back to, there was a fight that Josh Taylor had where his eye was swelled up. I can't remember who that was against. But anyway, and that's what reminded me.
Wasn't that the progress?
Pardon me?
That was the progress fight, the World Series fight.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying a bit earlier on about him being a warrior, going to emptying his tank, going to the well. He won't be denied. But sorry, carry on, Graham.
Yeah, no. That's what reminded me. And I kind of digressed a little bit into the Canelo Saunders fight. But the point is here's you got your Josh Taylor. He's got character. He's got stamina. He's willing to go the distance. He's willing to give it all, leave it all. And he's not going. I don't think he's going to leave it in the hands of the judges, as we like to say. I think he's going to have to take out and finish this by the 8th and 9th. Might be, but I would have argued a bit earlier than that, because I think he's going to come out flying. To be blunt.
Well, you'll know, Graham, we don't allow splinters on this program, so there's no splinters in here. So, can we have a round number, please, young man?
I'm expecting a stoppage by the 5th round.
Oof.
Big shout.
Big shout. Right, let's get over to the so-called knockout artist and the self-proclaimed knockout artist, I might add, Mike Orr. Mike, give us your thoughts.
All right. Honestly, guys, this is the best that boxing has to offer. Two elite fighters in their prime of their careers colliding in a legacy-defining matchup for the undisputed championship of the world. Honestly and truthfully, Ramirez is no joke.
No.
Taylor is no joke. These guys are both elite fighters in their prime who are evenly matched up. This is a 50-50 bout. It could go either way. It's what the fans want. It's what the fighters want. Me, I'm going to lean towards Josh Taylor because I like him. I believe it's going to be a stoppage, 7th round.
So you're falling right in between what Andy and I said.
Yeah, I believe it'll be the 7th.
Okay, time for Carl's prediction. First, I'd like to say that it's a disgrace, the TV coverage in the UK.
Yeah,
it's not been picked up by Sky or BT. It's on Fight TV, which is a very strange
platform over here.
Very strange.
Well, Fight is also ESPN as well. It's on ESPN.
Same again. That'd be a pay-per-view platform over here.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, that's so. You guys you would have a pay-per-view platform for a fight that we can watch for free.
Yeah,
but then we also get it vice versa for a little bit.
Yeah, but pretty much because both Sky and BT have not bothered
to pick it up at all.
No, it's strange when they pick up Mayweather's next fight against Paul, isn't it?
Well, I believe they're thinking ratings and money and pay-per-view buys, right? That's what they're thinking.
You know what? This is what's killing boxing, though, lads, isn't it?
Yeah,
because they're interested in picking up a YouTuber.
Yeah, because YouTubers sell.
They're not interested in picking up pound for pound the best fighter in the UK, in my opinion.
We'll cover the YouTubers in a little while. So
now let's not.
So I'm a big fan of Josh Taylor. Not as big as Andy. I think Andy's his biggest fanboy, to be honest. But
he's president of the fan club.
Proud of it. He's a great fighter.
He's a great fighter. I enjoy watching him fight every time.
So
honestly, I've never not liked to watch this kid fight. He's great, and honestly, I think he's going to do some real damage to Ramirez. But again, it's such an evenly matched fight. It could go either way, and it's for the undisputed. So both guys are going to come out. They're going to get in the ring, and they're going to give it their all. Like these fighters say, sometimes they got to be saved from themselves. This is going to be a battle. This is going to be an exciting fight. Definitely a fight for the weekend, and maybe even the fight of the weekend.
All right, Mark. We know you're on commission, so just calm it down a bit. And,
trust me, man, those checks are coming in as I speak.
Yeah. Last time I looked, I was giving my prediction. I think time's passing on. So what I would say is, I think it's going even later than 9. I think this is a war, so I'm going to go round 10. I think it's going to be an absolute toe-to-toe, and neither of them. This isn't a gimme fight, is it? It's a 50-50.
No. What's going to tell for me, though, Cole? What's going to tell for me is it'll be toe-to-toe, and for the first half of the fight, it'll be very close.
Yeah.
But what's going to tell is Josh Taylor's body punches.
Yeah.
They'll take the toll later on in the fight, and it'll stop him through. In fact, I'll predict that it'll stop him with a body punch.
Ramirez is a tough mother, though, isn't he? He's a tough.
Ramirez is no joke. The guy's where he's at because of who he is.
Yeah.
He's 26-0 with 17 knockouts. Yeah. He's been the world champion since 2018. When he topped Amir Iman via unanimous decision to win the WBC strap. And then he's trainer Robert Garcia, and the duo has combined go 4-0 in world title fights. So, he's 4-0 for defense. So, and he's knocked out Maurice Hooker in July 2019 to unify the world titles. So, he's not Ramirez ain't somebody to take lightly. And you know what? Josh Taylor, I believe, is the right guy to be able to get in there and stop him. You know what? Even if it does, this fight does have the potential for going the distance. It does.
You've earned your 25%, Mark. You've earned your 25%.
Perfect. Now I'm going to let you earn yours.
Yeah. So moving on to the next topic then. So obviously Eddie Hearn's slightly busy at the minute with a super fight that's been cancelled or hasn't been cancelled.
Hold on, Carl. Just before we go on to that.
Yep.
What's this? You mentioned earlier on in our little WhatsApp group that Aram had said that they were lining Spence up to fight the winner of the Taylor fight.
No, Mikey Garcia.
I was going to say Spencer's not in that.
No, Mikey Garcia.
Right, I misread it, mate. Carry on.
No, I've got that one. Mikey Garcia has been lined up to fight the winner of Tank Davis versus Barroso. Sorry, Andy. That's what I put.
So what's the Spence thing?
No, not put nothing about Spence.
Yeah, he did.
Right. Well, I'll cover that off in a minute.
Right.
So Eddie Hearn has recently said, following Joshua Buatsi's win at the last weekend, he feels he can go on to beat Bivol. So let's start with Graham on this one. Obviously, I don't know how much you've seen of Buatsi over that side of the pond. I know, Mike, you did a review on him.
Yeah, I did.
So obviously, Bivol is. I really rate Bivol. I think he's a monster. So
He's one of my favorite right now.
yeah. So Graham, what are your thoughts on that comment by Mr. Hearn?
First of all, let me say, I have enjoyed what Mr. Hearn has brought to the table lately. I liked his comments with respect to the confusion for the fan when it comes to all these different belts and weight classes and titles.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, if I'm your average fan, that is going to be confusing. So I really do appreciate the level of intelligence he brings to the sport. So that's my introduction to Eddie Hearn, quite frankly. Pardon me?
Best promoter in the world?
Matchroom, that's a tough call.
You know what? I'll say this. He's made more exciting fights in the last 2 years than some of the other top promotions.
Yeah. And the fact that he's got Katie Taylor in his stable, he gets full marks for that. So I like, Bivol. I like Bivol. But we had a really good conversation about all the various other characters in that weight class as well. And I think I had it with Neil Adil actually. And I gotta say that's a hell of a competitive weight class, to be blunt. So I'm not really sure whether in this case it just benefits Matchroom from a corporate level to say, here's who I'm going to pit him against. Given the various choices there are on the table. So I'm going to go on the corporate side. He said the right thing, given what he does for a living.
Yeah.
Does it benefit the fight fan? Absolutely. But what I'm saying is that there is a whack of other opportunity out there as well in that division.
And a lot of UK fighters where we could have some local derbies.
Yeah.
There's almost a Super 6 point within them lot somewhere. So, Andy, what about you? Cheers, Graham.
It's too soon for Buatsi for me. Too soon.
Oh.
I think I rate Buatsi. Don't get me wrong. I think he's real quality, but I think he needs a few more fights.
I agree with you, Andy.
Bivol's outstanding.
I think Bivol right now has too much experience in the ring in big fights.
Yeah.
For Buatsi for him to be this next opponent. Like honestly,
I agree.
Great performance from Buatsi, but let's speak about it. The performance was against a guy who's never fought off the soil of France. So really, was that big nasty knockout?
A bit like Lucien Butte. Just remind me, Mike, what happened there?
Exactly. Oh God. Honestly, though, I think you know what? Maybe it could be a great fight, but I think it would be too soon for Buatsi to step in with Bivol. I think Bivol's just he's too much right now. I think he's on this upward climb right now, and I think anybody who gets put in front of him right now is going to get devastatingly finished, and it's gonna divert their career a little bit, and I don't think that would be the right move for Buatsi to do after his last win. I think he needs to get a couple more fights under his belt with some guys that are on that par of Bivol or better.
Eddie Hearn has history doing this with fighters.
He does.
He rolls the dice every once in a while, and he puts his neck on the line. You got to give him a lot of praise for that, because a lot of promoters,
right, they
have a cash cow and they look after them. They protect them a little bit. They shield them. They put them in against fighters they know they're going to beat. They build them to the highest profile they can before they put them in with a big fighter. Eddie Hearn don't always do that.
No.
So you give him a little bit of credit, but I think this is one fight a little bit too soon, like you say, Mike.
Yeah, I think so. You know, to quote Eddie Hearn.
Sorry, Mike. Where would you take him next?
That's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult because he's knocking on the door and probably deserves a shot.
Are you saying where does he take Beazzi? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Who's he matchmaking against next?
So, there's like you just said, there's obviously
Yard.
He beats Yard all day long. I think that's an easy fight for him. But for me, if he wants to be the best in the world, he's got to be the best in his own country first.
Exactly.
And to do that, he's got to beat the fighters in his own country. For me, Callum Johnson's the best in that division. He's been out a while. He's only just coming back.
Yeah.
But for me, he's the best in that division.
I agree.
He's got the experience. So what Eddie Hearn should be doing is putting him in with Callum Johnson. If he thinks he's that good, let him prove it.
Yeah.
Mike?
Honestly, Eddie Hearn said it. You know what? Just to quote him, you get 100% right when you take a leap. You want to do it now. Can Joshua Buatsi beat Dimitri Bivol? In my opinion, yes, he can. And if you believe you can become a world champion, you should be looking to challenge him. This is why I like Eddie Hearn. It's true. You want to be a champion, you got to fight a champion. These side fights and all this crap that goes on through boxing with all the politics, it makes it boring. And you know what? Sure, I would love to see Buatsi get in the ring and fight him. But does it make sense for Buatsi's career? Probably not. But does it make sense for the fight fans around the world? Hell yeah. It'd be an exciting fight. But I believe it's too early to be making a step up like that. I think Bivol's he's on a journey right now. He's unstoppable. He's already proved that every time you put him in the ring. You know, it's one of those fights that we should wait.
Just to play devil's advocate a minute though, Mike. Sometimes you stop camaraderie by a defeat. You know, Craig Richards is probably a good example where he's jumped in high-profile fights, and sometimes you stop camaraderie by a defeat.
Hey, all it takes is one punch, man, and can change the course of everything, right?
The opposite side of that coin, Carl, is you send a fighter in with a world champion. Anthony Yarde was being hailed as this golden boy. He gets sent over to fight Kovalev way too soon. Gets himself spanked around the ring.
Yeah.
And where is he now?
Nowhere.
It's knocked him back, big style. He comes back. He goes into his next fight and loses that.
It's hard to come back when you're on a rise like that, and you've got all that push behind you, and you're gearing up for that fight that you're fighting up, and you know that if you win, you're going to make a name for yourself, and all that added pressure, and then you lose that breaks you down mentally so hard that it's hard sometimes to come back and rally from something like that.
I think the challenge he's got though is where does he matchmake him? Because as British and UK fans, no longer do we let him have gimme fights, do we, Andy, as a rule? If he keeps having gimme fights, people will lose interest in him and he won't be relevant. So
also Eddie Hearn's not stupid though, is he, Carl? And Eddie Hearn knows just how good Callum Johnson is.
Yeah.
So he's probably not going to make that fight. He might make the odd fight.
You know what I'm saying though about these, the jumping with these gimme fights, and the British public tend to lose patience a little bit.
Well, Matchroom don't do that, do they? That's
So where does he go then, Amber? So they're not going to give him a gimme fight. So give me a name.
It's a Frank Warren. That's a Frank Warren way of going about building his fighters. He puts them in with nobodies, builds a profile, gets them a world ranking, generally with the WBO, gets them a world title shot with the WBO, and they either win that title and then lose it to an American, or they lose the WBO fight because they're not ready for it, because they've been built up against nobodies.
Come on then, guys.
Arthur?
You got your quiff going on with a bit of gelling. You're Eddie Hearn-esque. You've got Buatsi knocking on your office door down there in Kent. Where are you taking him?
Well, who? Well, what? Was it Lyndon Arthur, Anthony Yard, Callum Johnson, Craig Richards? They're all in his weight class.
Yep.
Well, that's not an answer.
Joshua,
Last time I looked, that's not an answer. Where are you taking him? Who are you putting him in with next?
Well, who's available out of those guys? Right, he's got to be the best in the country before he can be the best in the world.
A couple of them. Obviously, Frank Warren, Queensbury Promotions. So that's going to cost a lot of money.
Hey, money makes fights.
Yeah,
we all know that, man. It's prize fighting. It's
a
conundrum,
though, isn't it? It's a conundrum.
It is. Right? Like for instance, man. Like I just named off a bunch of guys. When was the last time you seen those guys in the ring?
Yep.
It's another thing, right?
Yep.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying from the corporate perspective, what does Eddie have to lose by pitting, if you will, in this case, a Buatsi against a Bivol? Absolutely nothing. He's got everything to gain. That's what I'm saying. From his perspective, it's a corporate.
The fight is corporate, don't it? Buatsi has a lot to lose from losing that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. But when it comes to saying publicly, when Eddie Hearn says something, everyone's going to listen, quite frankly. So I'm saying, corporately speaking, it makes a lot of sense for him to come out and say that. Yeah, of course he can beat Bivol. Now all the fans are, like you and I are talking, we're all debating this now.
Yeah.
Well, if Eddie Hearn's not the best promoter in the world, he's the best salesman in the world.
Definitely, man. He could sell a bald man a comb.
I'm not sure who's a better promoter than Eddie Hearn.
I agree with you, Carl. I think he's the best in the world.
Yeah,
if you look at
the better one.
Not just, if you look at the way he promotes a fight, a card, and the way he builds a card,
yes,
he's building cards months and months before. He's dropping seeds into the public's imagination before anything's even announced with certain fights. He knows that it's going on in the background, and he's ready for it to drop, and he's getting the anticipation going before it's even taken off. Really,
and there's a reason why Canelo with him. And there's a reason why Cesaro is chasing him.
Of course there is. And there's no two ways about it. When he puts a card together, there's no promoter in the world stacks a card like Eddie Hearn does.
True.
True.
Just the Ramirez, just looking at the Ramirez Taylor card.
And this is no disrespect. This is no disrespect to American cards, but me and Andy watched a lot of top ranked cards and other American promoters' cards, and the atmosphere just isn't there. Take aside Canelo's fight at Texas.
But
the atmosphere was only there for the Canelo fight, Carl.
But these so-called superstars, as in Charlo, he can even go for Wilder versus Fury, which is a massive fight. I still stand beside what I say, that I think there's a lot more atmosphere in British stadia than there is in North America stadia when it comes
100%. 100%, man, because it's true fight fans watching every time. It's not corporate America doing deals, sitting ringside, shaking hands, and, making millions of dollars. You have true fight fans that are sitting there watching this, man. That's why the atmosphere is much, much better over there. Corporate America, man. All these corporations buy up the seats. Why? Because it's the in thing to do, to go and see the next prize fight in Vegas. That's what it is, man. It's been like that since the dawn of time.
Moving on to the TV production side of it as well. Am I right in saying that the majority of American fight cards, only the main event gets shown live on American TV?
Sometimes, yes. Most likely, you'll get one. You'll get two, maybe three fights max.
See,
you'll watch the prelims on some streaming site or something else, and then you turn on ESPN or NBC or PBC, and you watch the last three or the last two fights or the main event, which it's upsetting.
Whereas Eddie Hearn creates an event, not just a fight; it's a whole event.
Yeah,
I mean, me and Andy have been to a few matchroom shows. They're good events, aren't they, Andy? Atmosphere, well managed.
Well managed stack cards, especially pay-per-view cards.
Oh yeah.
You get on a pay-per-view card, you might have six fights, and you can guarantee 3 or 4 of them are world title fights. or interim fights.
Well, what that last card last weekend was
British,
five titles.
or European. You know, the majority of fights on an Eddie Hearn pay-per-view are for a strap.
Yeah.
Of some description.
Well, because there is so many of them to grab.
Mike, Graham, how's Eddie Hearn perceived in North America or Canada?
It's taking a long time to shift the mindset, and this is where Eddie Hearn has the advantage, quite frankly. Again, from a corporate perspective, they're migrating from, say, the 1950s, 1960s, when the mob controlled boxers and boxing, whether it be New York or Las Vegas, and they absolutely controlled the industry. And it's taken a long time to break that mold and control of that mold from the guys who, you know, we all know who that was. But the point of the matter is it's taken a long time. That's why I say it. I think Eddie Hearn's brilliant in what he's saying and what Andy's saying in terms of putting productions together. Again, fantastic, second to none, because these guys in America have done things their way for such a long time. It's taken a long time, to break that mold, if you will. You know, it's going to be held at the MGM Grand. We're going to sell ringside seats for $20,000 a pop. And we're going to air it, but it's only going to air for 1 hour between 9 and 10 p.m. And that's not even prime time. So in other words, to capture the most viewers in a non-prime time slot, you had better have the best fights ready. And so that's how they play their cards these days still. Nowadays, pay-per-view has taken over that model. Mike Tyson has certainly proved it. I understand we're going to talk about the YouTubers a little later on, but Eddie Hearn, Eddie Hearn, that's what I'm saying. Eddie Hearn, corporately speaking, has broken the mold. He puts together great productions, both from a live perspective and a television perspective. He's covering both angles, from traditional broadcast to pay-per-view, and he's doing it right because he's putting the right content in play. So the fans are excited. They want to see what, and he keeps the momentum going too, by the way. Whereas it seems like the American promoters are very reactionary. Whoever's popular at the day, that's who they're going to put on their shows. I think that's the big difference.
I did find it quite interesting. A couple of his own cards recently, let's say they favoured the European / Saudi time zone rather than the North American one. That could quite easily start a shift. Whereas UK fight fans have had to get up at 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, it does seem that the zone are almost doing the maths and working out how can we best suit other time zones. And if I was in North America, I'd find that a bit of a worrying trend.
Guys, how much is the zone charging in North America?
It's $20 a month. You can pay $20 a month subscription, or you can buy the entire year for I think it's $120.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you have access to all the content, and all fights do get archived as videos, so you can go back and watch fights for time. They're always uploading new content. It's cool because you get to see, because the zone's streaming, so you get the opportunity to see a lot of these smaller matches that are not necessarily being televised, but they're being streamed because the zone has a streaming platform. So that's where the zone is really starting. Yeah. Honestly, the American boxing landscape has changed a great deal over the last 3 years with the launch of the zone and ESPN Plus and the death of HBO boxing. Many smaller promoters have been able to gain ground now for the first time. Promoters from outside of America are able to sign top young talent now from the U.S. only because of things like the things that Eddie Hearn are doing, the death of, an old school boxing program and the birth of 2 new ones. And because this is happening, we're now getting like promoters that are signing big name people that, we never heard of. Like, yes, there is the Top Ranks, there's the Match Rooms, then we got Golden Boy, and then there's the PBC now. Then you've got Now. You've got Thompson. You have the Mayweather promotions. Right now you have Triller. So all these new promotions are coming out, and it's giving more opportunity now for us to see young fighters on a different platform on other parts of the world. which is great. And you know what? It's all because of things that Eddie Hearn is doing, and trying to pull away from that 1940s, 1950s prize fighting lifestyle, where it's run by the mob, and you're gonna do what we say, and it's our politics, and we make the fights, and this, that's gone. That's a thing of the past. And Eddie Hearn said it right, man. You either got to keep up with the times, or you get left behind.
Yeah, Ray.
And you know what? That's what he's trying to do.
Are you Ray? Evening.
Good to see you.
How we doing?
Yeah, we'll bring you in at this stage, Ray. So you'll see from the caption that Eddie Hearn's gone on record as saying he thinks Buatsi can beat Bivol. What are your thoughts on that? And also another question while we're at it. Where would you take Buatsi next?
First of all, he's probably been drinking some of Mike's lager for him to come out with a comment like that. But
Right?
let's be serious about it. I mean, but Buatsi is a talent, but 14 fights in 5 years just isn't good enough. And people can say the same about Bivol. Bivol's fought at a higher class.
Yeah.
Bivol's fought at a higher class. Don't forget that. So Bivol, for me, has just too much from at this stage. And Buatsi's last fight didn't show me anything more than the fight before that, where
all it showed me is
struggled
that
with
the
Croat.
UK beat France again.
Sorry?
All it showed me is that the UK demolished France yet again.
Yeah. But when it comes to boxing,
It's what
Yeah,
we
it's
do.
pretty much, it's unlike football, what you guys call soccer. It's a different ball game. The French always win. But Buatsi, where I think he goes, I think I would like to see him in against some of these, some of the all the light heavies, that are the ones that are still game, those gamekeepers. I would like to see him in a couple of more of those.
Is that just
and
for
then
experience, right?
Yeah, because I still think he's behind Johnson. I still think he's probably behind Arthur.
Actually, I'm going to tell you right now, the rankings have been released, and Buatsi is now sitting number 1 above Arthur, Yard, Johnson, Richards, Pitters, Costa, Burton, Aziz, and Davies. There's the top 10.
No, he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be though. And this is
That's your light heavy. That's your light heavy.
Yeah, he shouldn't be. He's not done anything to become the best in like Britain. He's got a brilliant machine behind him. But I would like to see him in with maybe a couple of these American light heavy gatekeepers, because he should be over with Virgil Hunter full time. So firstly, I'd like to see him with Virgil Hunter full time, a couple of these American gatekeepers, and then put him in with a couple of big domestic fights in the UK, because he needs to be fighting for the British title to really prove. Because these guys have won things in Britain, they've beaten other British. Look at what Lyndon Harvest achieved. Even Callum Johnson, look what he's achieved when he fought Bullioni. He completely wiped the floor with him, and he was a British light heavyweight champion. Craig Richards put up a decent fight against Bivol, but we haven't seen Buatsi with anyone of that caliber yet. So Buatsi, for me, I think there's an argument where you could put him probably at the bottom of the light heavies.
He's certainly not above Johnson, is he?
No, he's not. Johnson, for me, is the best British light heavyweight.
There's an argument that he's at the other level for the other three, though. I think he's got the skill level to be at that level.
I don't think he's at the skill level yet to be rated number 1, though. I don't think he hasn't, because
I think you see what you got to be careful of. Sometimes the ratings might look at potential, and yes, Buatsi has a lot of potential, but when you critically look at what he's done and who he's fought, even probably Craig Richards has a better resume.
We have a comment in the chat, lads, from Adam Quayam. Is that how you pronounce it?
Adam Kim. Yeah, he says Buatsi needs to get in with Craig Richards.
I'd like to see that.
Agree.
It's a good shout, that is.
Probably agree. I mean,
he needs to prove himself. He needs to prove himself at the British level of fighters before he tries taking on the world. For me, Ray. Yeah,
but I think he can get some good experience fighting, because I don't think he's going to get anything from fighting these European lads.
Like honestly, if you round out the top 5 light heavy in the Americas, you got Joe Smith Jr., you got Jesse Hart, Marcus Brown, Joseph George, and what's his name? Kalajic, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
There's tons of guys that he can that he can bash with over here, but it's
No
whether or not
profile,
that
though,
deal,
Mike.
it's whether or not that deal gets made.
Hardly any of them have got any profile in the UK.
Pardon me?
Hardly any of them have got any profile in the UK.
They don't need to be fighting Boatsy.
Yeah,
It's just how Boatsy develops, isn't it?
yeah, pretty much.
I'll come back to the point I made earlier, Ray. I'm not sure the British fight fans are they're gonna want to see Boatsy step up a bit now and jump in with the likes of Richard. I'd argue Harper as well. I don't think we can keep hanging around at European level.
No. Well, European level is a funny one because the European level to me is European title level.
We don't quite know what he's going to get.
Yeah, he's fighting essentially European journeyman. I mean, the kid he fought last was the 7th best in France. But like what Mike's saying, he probably needs to be testing himself against, the likes of the lad who had the Russian sounding name, that Kladic. Kladic. Yeah, he needs to be fighting those type of guys because he could really go on undercards, and then once he's built himself, come back and get a Craig Richards fight.
Yeah. See, if he fights somebody like the guys that I just mentioned, right? They're older. They got a little bit more ring experience. They got more fights under the belt. Yeah. Instead of 14 fights, we're talking guys that are, if you round out the top 5 guys, that are light heavies in the U.S., every single one of them has over 24 wins.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so
which
is what you want. That's what you want for a guy who's just up and coming, who has the potential to be great. But now you got to put him in with journeymen who know the game, who know how to take those fights late, who know how to fight in championship rounds, who've suffered a couple of losses because, until you get that loss under your belt, you're always going to have that chip on your shoulder, right? But it's being able to come back from that stuff and being able to fight guys who've been through that. That experience makes up for a lot. And Boatsy just doesn't have that ring experience yet to be classified as, the #1 light heavy in the UK yet. We got to get him with some fights with some guys who have experience, just like you were saying, right, with the undercards, and then build it back up and get to that main event again.
If you put him in with the likes of Craig Richards and Craig Richards and Johnson, even Anthony Yard, they've all got advantages over him. Not necessarily physical advantages, but advantages in the ring.
He beats Richards now. He beats Richards. He beats him.
I think it's a tougher fight than what you would think.
Even if he beats him, it's still going to be a tougher fight than his last.
Yeah, it's not. He should be beating Richards comfortably, but I don't think he does on the basis that he just doesn't. He's not had the opponents to
but
prove
that.
Talk
about learning fight. That is a great learning fight.
Definitely a great learning fight.
It's also a very dangerous fight.
I think it's a banana skin, potentially.
But you can take him over to the States and they're banana skin fights.
But this is what brings me back to the original comment.
The thing with it. Go on, Graham. What you were saying?
Well, I was just going to say the original comment I made in response to the question posed was how smart Eddie Hearns was being being somewhat playful in his wording of this, because quite frankly, the U.S. market, which is huge, potentially huge, needs the kind of name power, the draw power that a Bivol brings to the table. You're not going to have this level of discussion if it's two Brits going against each other. Yeah. You're not going to have that level of discussion over here. Think about it on a macro level. Boxing was once a great sport, dominated the headlines. Then wrestling came into it. Then MMA came into it. So boxing is actually coming back full circle now in the States. I'm talking a huge commercial market on both the promotion side, the broadcast side, and now the pay-per-view side. So I think Eddie Hearns is playing his cards right by saying, well, who's this guy with his fantastic knockout punch going to face next? Of course he's going to face Bivol next. Why, if I'm Eddie Hearns, that's what I'd be saying too. But is it reality for a guy like Boatsy to be able to beat Bivol? No, we know that. But we just spent half an hour talking about it.
You don't think he's doing it for publicity, do you, Graham? Surely
that's
not.
What I'm saying. I think like both Ray and Mike have pointed out, there's lots of other potential opponents, but they're not going to have that draw power, that name power over here in this side of the pond. If Eddie Hearn wants to create, like we were talking earlier, if he wants to create that excitement level a few months in advance, and he's doing it for a lot of his fighters, this is what he needs to be saying. And that's why I think he said this about Bivol.
I think the problem is
as well, Carl, that if he loses against Richards, where does he go from there? Where if he loses against someone out in America, he can do a rebuilding job over there. It's far more difficult to do a rebuilding job in the UK than it is stateside.
the problem is now is Eddie Hearn and Bob Arum. They don't have a great relationship, right? No matter what happens, like Demetrius Andrade, right? Eddie Hearn's been trying to get him a match with Charlo. They've offered big money, and it's being turned down. And I just think it's because of comments that Eddie Hearn has said before in the past about, I'm going to come and cherry pick your best fighters and there's nothing you can do about it. And Bob Abrams like, oh yeah, watch what I'm going to do. And now what's happening is champions aren't fighting champions. We got too many interim people. We got too many people waiting in the works to have their championship fights. And it's all because, people's egos. And it's stupid because the boxing world is suffering because of it.
Yeah. Right. Next topic then, guys. I think it's only right with having Canadian guests on the show that we talk about a Canadian fight. So I struggled, I'll be honest.
Lennox Lewis winning the gold medal?
I thought I said Canadian, Mike.
Lennox Lewis winning the gold medal.
Anyway, I've started, so I'll finish. So Badu Jack versus Jean Pascal. Let's throw that one in the mix. So Graham, you can take this one away. How do you think that one plays out on the 6th of June?
I think Jean Pascal has had his day. I didn't think he'd even show up at this fight, quite frankly. Badu Jack's a great fighter. Okay, man. I'm not behind the Canadian on this one. Sorry. Jean Pascal is going to lose. Or I think it needs.
Sorry. Mike, what do you reckon? How do you think this is going to play out? Let's give our Canadian guest the first go at this one.
Oh, Jean Pascal all the way.
Really?
No.
Oh.
No, honestly, Jean Pascal, great Canadian fighter. Ranked, actually, he's the only Canadian that's ranked within the top 100 of pound for pound fighters in the world. But he's number 72. The thing is, he's old, man. He's on his way out, man. He's I believe 38 years old now. So you know what? Yeah, he's had his day. I believe this fight is put together to give Badu Jack the boost that he needs. I think it's going to be a definite. I think he's just going to destroy him, man. To be honest, I think Badu Jack's going to do what he does best. He's going to come in. Pascal is going to do what he can, but I don't think he has enough.
And I'll be honest, we're not particularly bothered about his fight over this side of the pond, but we'll give a view anyway. So, Ray, do you want to jump in next?
I think it's an interesting fight in terms of where the winner ends up. I definitely think Badu Jack wins it comfortably.
Oh, yeah.
Comfortably. And I'm mindful because I said Andy Ruiz would beat Arreola comfortably. And I think this is slightly different in terms of there's no change in either no drastic change in either camp for this one. But I just think Badu Jack has something left. Yeah. And I've always liked Badu Jack. I thought I thought him and James DeGale probably should have had a rematch because that was a fascinating fight, the DeGale and Badu Jack fight. But I think Badu Jack wins this one, and I think he's still a good name on people's record. And I still want to see him. Before we're talking about Boatsy, I can see somebody emerging. The best of our British bunch should probably face somebody like a Badu Jack, and then get a jump in with either a Bivol or a.
Didn't Pascal win a controversial split?
No, Jack would just knock him out.
Yeah, there was a controversial split decision back in 2019 when Pascal was 37.
Oh, so yeah. I thought you meant there's going to be one now. Yeah.
I'll jump in there. Yeah. Your boy came to Nottingham and we sent him packing years ago.
So, hey, listen. He ain't my boy. He's from Montreal.
It's uncanny. Close enough for me. Close enough. So Mr. Fox sent him packing when he was in his prime. That was a
Hey,
warning.
why can't you guys take him and say he's British?
Can I just let me jump in there, guys? That fight that Cole's talking about against the legend from Nottingham was a real close fight.
It was.
Pascal was quality then.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not going to say that he's not a great fighter, but he's at the end of his rope, right? Like,
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
right?
he's done.
And so you know what? Bad New Jack's been around a long time too, but he definitely has a lot more than Pascal does.
I'm gonna be a little bit different to you guys there because I don't rate Bad New Jack.
No,
I do. I like him.
No, I think he's been very lucky. He's been very lucky in the area that he's come into, in the title fights he's had.
Oh, come on, then, Andy. I'm feeling a prediction here. Come on, then. What are you going for?
I think no. Pascal's past it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If Bad New Jack was fighting Pascal of 5 or 6 years ago, then this is an interesting fight. It's not an interesting fight now, but Pascal could have won that. Could have won that fight 5 or 6 years ago. But Bad New Jack's not pulling up any trees for me.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about Jean Pascal, it over the last 15 years, it's right up there regarding Canadian boxers, isn't it?
Jean Pascal, yeah. He was the top guy in Canada. You know what the thing is, though, is Jean Pascal hasn't fought since his last fight with Bad New Jack. So he hasn't been in the ring for he hasn't been in the ring 2-3 years, man. Like that fight was back December 2019. December 2019 was the last time that fight was. So we're talking 2.5 years here. This guy hasn't been in the ring. Now, I know, like ring rust is a thing, but ring rust is a real thing. I don't care how many times you spar, how much heavy sparring you do, how much training you do. Nothing is going to compensate for not being in that ring.
And ring rust surely has to take its toll when you're getting older as well.
Yeah, it's definitely. At 38 years old, you know what I mean? Like, my body cracks and aches every time I get up and get out of bed. Can you imagine how it feels for these guys after a fight or after training? Like that, you're 40 years old at that point, man. You've been doing this since a kid, and you haven't been in the ring in 2.5 years. I'm sorry. You know what? He's Canadian. I'm proud to be Canadian, but honestly, he doesn't stand a chance, man. His last opponent was Bad New Jack. He hasn't fought since.
Yeah, so I think it's quite unanimous that we're all going for Bad New Jack in that one then, yeah?
Definitely.
And then the final topic, which is Andy's going to really enjoy this segment of the show. So here we go.
I can already feel the tension right now, ready before you say it. All right. Okay, you say it, and we all look at Andy's face in disgust.
Yeah.
Wait, I gotta hang on. Am I reading TikTokers?
TikTokers. That's what Twitter reported, Graham. Don't pull me up on my own production. That's our Twitter reported it. They are TikTokers.
Somebody learned their English well.
So I don't know who wants to take this one away first, but wow, they actually had Michael Buffer at the presser today, and he even trotted out them words, "Let's get ready to rumble."
And then they paid him $1 million.
Something like that. Yeah.
Look at Andy. Look at Andy. That is a picture.
That's it, man. He said those words, and they cut him a check for $1 million. Hey, man, if I'm him, I'm doing the same shit.
So
I tell you what, I wouldn't.
In true style, let's start with Andy.
No, that's not wise, mate. Okay, let's just get this. Let's get
this shit over with.
I tell you what, we should get this Adam Kearm on, see what his views are, because he's saying Michael Buffer's bringing the views in, so probably ask him to come on.
Are we talking about this TikTok fight, or are we talking about Jake Paul?
No, this is an event where YouTubers are fighting against TikTokers. Graham,
they've created their own social media boxing.
Full card here.
We are
a full card.
Full card.
Yes, it's happening. It's happening.
YouTubers versus TikTokers.
Yeah, it's
full
happening.
card.
It's
full card. New and approved kind of crap. This is some stupid social media boxing
room, please.
It's on.
Yeah,
It's on.
you know what? You know what? Pass me some rum. I think I need some after hearing that crap.
So they're calling it social gloves.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's June the 12th, and they call it social gloves. So Andy, come on, break it down, kid.
Break it down. Come on, lads.
It sucks.
This is a
Enough said.
boxing channel, not a joke channel.
It's getting more and more prevalent, isn't it?
I'm being dead serious. This is ruining the sport that we love, and it's only going to get worse with this announcement that Jake Paul's apparently signing for Showtime.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you didn't say that, did you really?
Yep. So
Jake Paul is signing with Showtime. So does that mean he's actually going to get into the ring with a real boxer this time?
What this means is Jake Paul thinks he's a boxer.
I know he thinks that.
And what this means is Showtime think Jake Paul's a boxer. What's gonna end up happening here is if somebody doesn't put Jake Paul in his place quickly, and let's open this right up now. I'm not expecting anyone along the lines of Tommy Fury to pay any attention to this channel, but Tommy Fury, sign that contract and go and put him in his place. This is absolutely ridiculous, and it's gonna easy. It's gonna
Too much rum.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's all right. No.
What did Amazon say? What was their thought?
They're as disgusted as me.
It's like Alexa.
Yeah. If we're not careful, this is going to take over boxing. If Showtime are seriously considering signing a YouTuber just because of the views, just because of the pay-per-view tickets it's going to make, because let's have it right. Jake Paul's gigantic on YouTube.
Yep.
100 million views, 100 million subscribers. I mean,
he's got 20 million followers, and his brother has 30 million.
Right. Okay.
And
So
you're
Showtime are doing exactly what Triller wanted to do, and they're looking at numbers.
Yeah.
Showtime need to be ashamed of themselves.
Before
They're a proper boxing platform.
Yeah.
And they want to sign a YouTuber just because of the pay-per-view buys he's going to bring to the table. What this is going to do, if we're not careful, is Showtime are going to start signing loads of YouTubers just because. And what'll end up happening is they won't look at somebody's capability of a fighter. They'll look at how many YouTube followers they've got.
Yeah.
And they'll headline cards. And you'll have proper fighters that have fought the whole lives through amateurs, professional, built themselves up, that deserve to be headlining cards. They'll be on the undercard, earning no money.
Honestly, to comment on that, the last Triller event we watched, Jake Paul, Ben Askren, on the undercard was a fighter, I can't remember his name, former WBA world champion. The only boxer that was on the actual card in that last one.
We just progress.
Yeah, really, yeah, it was, yeah. Billy Joe Saunders fought on an undercard for one of the YouTube fights. It was the KSI Paul second.
Yeah. I know exactly which one it is. And the thing is, though, we all know in boxing, marketability is important.
Yeah,
I've never really liked it because you do get some boxers that perhaps aren't technically gifted, but because they're great ticket sellers, they get onto Sky, they get onto BT, they get on other platforms. But with the YouTubers, it's opening up. Yeah, I'm getting the point. You what? Sorry.
A bit like Lewis Rich, and he's only there because of his ticket sellability.
Quiet you. Quickest winner of a British title outright. I'll have you know. But where I'm going is that the YouTubers. It's some achievement, mate. How many British title wins do you have?
I agree, Ray. Ignore him.
But the thing with the YouTubers is, none of them are schooling the art of it anyway. This is probably bordering dangerous.
Yeah, it is.
And they're not just going to be pitched up against other YouTubers. Yeah, we've got this sort of, but this is there's going to be a demand for these YouTubers, as in the people that are following Jake Paul and stuff, to see them in with the likes of Tommy Fury. And because Showtime have paid them that much money, they're going to put it. This is where it can all go badly wrong.
Yeah.
So the followers, where I'm going with it, is the followers that have got these people signed up could be demanding and putting these people's life at significant risk. Because someone like Tommy Fury isn't going to go right on him.
You've kind of hit the nail on the head in that his followers are going to expect him to go in against the proper fighter.
Exactly.
Not knowing, because his followers are not boxing fans. They don't understand boxing. They understand him prancing about on a YouTube channel, making a fool of himself.
Yeah.
So they're going to demand he goes in with a proper fighter. Showtime, paying him an absolute bomb, are going to demand he goes in with a proper fighter.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I completely agree with you, Ray. This could end in tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping, what I'm hoping happens is, I'm hoping he carries on this ridiculous banter he's got going with Tommy Fury, because eventually,
he's training with Ryan Garcia right now, right?
I don't care.
I don't care who's in with. He hasn't got the ability.
No.
If I jump on a plane and I go and train with Ryan Garcia, does that make me capable of getting in a ring?
No, but what he's doing is he's learning on the go, because he's had no amateur career. He's trying to learn on the go, and because, listen, can he fight? Yes. Can he box?
No.
He can't fight either, Mike.
No, he can. Listen, he can throw a knockout punch.
No, he can't. No, he can't. Who's he throwing a knockout punch against?
No, but I'm saying he can knock out people.
That's the question. Who did he throw a knockout punch against?
Not boxers. That's what I'm saying. He hasn't fought boxers.
If I could just step in a minute and play the version.
Wait. Because he's catching this flack, he's got unlimited money, and now he's trying to hire real boxers to try and turn him into a real boxer, because he's trying to satisfy the boxing community, but it ain't working. He's not a boxer at all. He's a circus show. It's a sideshow. That's exactly what this is, and that's what it's becoming. But because he's catching all this flack, he's trying to make it serious, which is a joke. He's hiring these top fighters for who knows how much money to come in and say, "Hey man, come into the gym with me and show me some things." That's what's going to get him killed. That's what's going to get him hurt. People like
Mike, what realizes in the UK, let me break it down like this. In the UK, we've had crossover stars before.
Yeah.
Right? We've had cricketers, a cricketer called Freddie Flintoff. He trained with Barry McGuigan. Same sort of thing. Because Barry McGuigan knows what he's doing. He was training with Barry McGuigan and Shane. And Andy and Carl, remember rightly, he had the one fight and he got floored in that fight. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. He went on fight in the end, didn't he?
He went on a win. We've had footballers, people like Rio Ferdinand, try and get a license. They couldn't. We've had, you would have heard of the Mackenzie family in the UK. We've had Duke Mackenzie, his nephew, Leon Mackenzie, Adam, who's a pretty decent footballer. He wanted to be. We've had people like Curtis Woodhouse, but these are people that have had at least some amateur experience, and the British Board of Control were very vigilant about giving them a license. Mike, we don't want to see another Michael Watson. We don't want to see another Gerald McClellan, and this could happen with these YouTubers. And as Andy said before, as Carl said before, boxing's going to end up the loser. Yeah. Let's add Adam more. See what he's doing.
Was it you want to speak about the YouTubers?
Yeah, what's your view on all things YouTubers and boxing?
Yeah, it's a bit of a funny one, isn't it? Well, on one side, you could say they sort of bring in the views, aren't they? They bring in new fans in. But on the other side, you don't see fights like AJ Fury and Spence and Crawford.
Yeah.
I'll ask you a question, Adam. You know when you're saying they're bringing new fans?
Yeah.
Where's your proof?
Because these fans aren't hanging around to see. They'll watch the main fight, But they'll not watch the undercard, will they?
No.
Possibly, but they might maybe watch the big fights, for example.
Adam, let me just jump in there. I just don't see any proof of that fella. You know, when we talk about Jake Paul fans crossing over into mainstream boxing, and it's all about risk and reward for me. Because say Jake Paul jumps in with Tommy Fury and gets badly hurt, the damage it's going to do to boxing far outweighs these supposed fans that we don't see in the figures staying with boxing. That's my concern.
Yeah.
You know,
What you're going to end up happening with Carl, what you'll end up seeing is 30,000 YouTube followers for Jake Paul screaming that boxing should be banned.
Possibly.
Yeah, that's what Tony Bellew, I think, said as well.
30 million subscribers screaming that boxing should be banned when he gets hurt, because he will eventually by somebody.
He will.
Because he doesn't know how to defend himself, does he? He's not a boxer. No. Doesn't know how to ride a shot. Doesn't know how to defend himself. Doesn't know what to do when he's buzzed.
What
he's basically done is he's had a couple of fights, and the most recent was an absolute joke.
Yeah, because Ben Askren needed $1 million to upgrade his training facility for the Olympics.
Which is why I took the dive. Because
that's exactly why he took a dive.
That punch.
And then after that, he fought a 45-year-old retired basketball player who's 5'6". And where do these guys? Are they buying their licenses? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, probably.
Without an amateur career, okay, Jake Paul, for instance, he fought in an amateur event that was a WBC amateur youth tournament. He fought one fight in that, and then he had the KSI fight. So, was it KSI he fought? I believe. Anyways, how do you get licensed?
They seem to just give it out to anyone, don't they? No.
Apparently, they must be buying them. Because the last time I checked, like look at Conor McGregor, for instance. How long did it take? Look how long did it take.
The first KSI fight wasn't.
They had guards on.
Yeah, that was like an amateur one, wasn't it?
Fight, wasn't it? Yeah. They weren't sanctioned by the British Boxing Board of Control, for example.
No. And his last fight was sanctioned by the Ben Askren was Georgia, and they don't even. And I was reading that the Georgia Commission doesn't sanction events where a prize is given to the victor, which means they only sanction amateur bouts. So technically, it's not even a professional fight yet. So how is he gaining a professional boxing record that is on out there for everybody to see when he's not a professional boxer? He hasn't fought a professional boxer. He hasn't been sanctioned to fight in a professional boxing match. So how is he gaining a professional boxing record? Who's is he sucking?
We'll never allow it in the UK. That's all I'm going to say.
Just a quick question for Adam, though. I mean, what do you think, Adam, about Jake Paul going to Showtime?
Does that set up a Mayweather fight in the future?
So, Adam, tell us a bit about yourself then. Who do you follow in boxing circles? Who's your favourite fighter? The two gentlemen above, Mike and Graham from Canada. So, they haven't got much going on in Canada at the minute. So a bit of education would be great.
Yeah, I don't mind the heavyweight boxers, Fury, Joshua. More of a Joshua guy. And
really?
Triple G and Khan followed his career throughout.
Where do you think Amir Khan goes next?
Probably a Brooke payday now.
And who wins that one?
No, I think Khan. But it'll be a close fight.
Do you think that's his last fight then? Do you think he retires after that?
Yeah, both Brooke and Khan's last fight.
Who do you two, Graham, Mike, who do you think wins that fight? Amir Khan versus Brooke. Interesting one.
I like Kell Brook.
Both shot.
Let's go on. You know what, though? If I can just take a back step for a minute.
Yeah, of course you can.
Because I was listening to you guys argue about this whole YouTube scenario, and some of the words that came out of your respective mouths were interesting, from the sense that if you look at the total demographic across the world of people who enjoy sports and those who enjoy entertainment, it almost reminded me of those people who will watch an F1 race, not for the race, but for the crash. So I'm thinking to myself, yeah, there's probably an executive at Showtime saying, wow, no matter what happens to Jake Paul, okay, we're going to make a fortune off this. And it's got nothing to do with boxing. They don't give a flying toss about boxing, you know, and because you're talking about traditional boxing, whereas they're just talking about fighting. We're going to put a fighter facing off against another fighter. We don't care what his name is. But what we do know is we're going to make a lot of money. So, yes, can anyone drive a race car? I'll bet the answer would be, well, no. But, you know, realistically, why do many people watch it? For the crashes, not because some guy is technically superior and he happened to win the race.
What I would say, Graham, I don't see F1 allowing any YouTubers to jump in a car anytime soon.
I will bet, factually speaking, not necessarily F1, but I'll bet there's been lots of amateurs who've become involved in car racing because they enjoy. Who are the guys in Wham? The guys in Wham, George Michael and his buddy Andrew Ridgely. Yeah. They drove race cars. I forget which style it was, but the point of the matter is, I'll bet if you go back in history, you'll find lots of people who wanted to enter any sport, whatever it was, and because they're rich and famous, they can get in their way. I'm just saying, I think there's a lot of people at Showtime saying, this is fantastic. This is exactly what we need. They don't care about boxing. I'm with Andy on this one. If you want to have a boxing show, let's talk about boxing. Let's not talk about entertainment or the industry and that's why I was saying earlier, what Eddie Hearn was saying had more to do with his corporate positioning than it had to do with the sport itself.
Here's the thing for me. Jake Paul's called out Tommy Fury, thinking Tommy Fury is a reality TV star.
Yeah.
Because he was on that, what was it? Celebrity Love Island, was it? He was on.
Yeah, something stupid like that.
You don't know what it is, Andy.
Let's be absolutely straight here. Tommy Fury's a boxer coming from a fighting traveller family that, by the way, contains his big brother who's the heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah.
He's a boxer that's gone into a reality TV series for a laugh.
Right.
He's not a reality TV star that's decided he'll try his hand at boxing. He's a boxer. He's been fighting since he was a little kid. This is the mistake Jake Paul's making.
I personally think Jake Paul won't fight him. I don't think he'll rush.
Gentlemen, I have to go. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No problem.
Thank you again, guys.
See you, Jake.
We'll see everybody later. Thanks again, guys.
Cheers.
Seriously though, on a serious note, guys, I hope Tommy Fury signs this contract, if there is a contract on the table. I hope he signs it quickly. I hope he gets it done and dusted over quickly, because that's what will happen. It will finish within a round. And let's just put this whole Jake Paul YouTube boxing phenomenon to bed for once. Let's just get it done and dusted, because as soon as he loses in the week, he'll lose to Tommy Fury, that'll be it. No one will want to know after that.
So let's put YouTube to bed, because like Graham said, we are a serious boxing show. So Graham, I take your point. So let's move on. So the last topic of the night, guys, is slightly different slant now as developments happen. AJ versus Usyk, Fury versus Wilder. Who wins and how? Hold on a minute, Andy. Hold on a minute. Is that serious enough for you, Graham?
Yeah.
Yep, we're good to go then.
Let's get Adam's view on this first.
Say again, Andy.
Let's get Adam's view on this.
Come on, Adam, then. You can kick it off.
Yeah, I think AJ it's going to be a tough fight for him, the Usyk one.
I agree, Adam.
Yeah, very tough fight. I think Fury, I think he'll do it versus Wilder. But I don't know, that's going to be a 50-50 fight, the Usyk and Joshua one.
So the way we play it on this channel is, Adam, that we don't allow splinters. So we don't allow people to sit on fences. So you're going to have to give us a round, or if you think it's going to be a stoppage. So we need a concrete prediction.
I'll go AJ points. I think he'll take it.
Okay.
That's based on, because I wasn't impressed on Usyk's last couple of performances as well.
And then moving on to Fury.
Fury, I think he beats him, but I wouldn't underestimate Wilder too with that right hand.
So that's a bit of a politician answer you gave us there, Adam. So we'll try again. So talk to me. What round? Who's the winner and what round?
Fury knockout, 6th round.
There we go. So next we'll go to our North American colleague. So Graham, same question to you, young man.
I have been a big supporter of Anthony Joshua for a long time, but I didn't expect this fight. So, but I'm going to go with Adam on this one. I'm going to say Joshua's going to beat Usyk. I think it's going to go the distance. I think it's going to be a slugfest because they're both very big, powerful boys. As much as there's been a lot of discussion about whether they should obligate Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder to their contract, I agree they should have at the outset. They shouldn't have let it drag on this long. It's too bad they allowed it to flip-flop as it did, because that's just bad for boxing. It's just bad for the fans. I think I'm going to go with Adam on this one. I think Tyson Fury is going to win because I think Deontay Wilder I think he's just lost it. And I think Fury's a big boy, and he knows what he's doing. I really like both his mouth and his style. So I think he puts his, I think he's got it all together as a heavyweight fighter. I think he's going to dominate. I'm actually looking forward to the Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua clash when it finally happens.
So, sorry, did they get a prediction in that last part? Are you going to give us a round?
I don't think Tyson Fury can knock out Deontay Wilder. So I think as well, I think it's going to go the distance. I think it's going to be a decision.
Right, fair enough. Raymondo?
AJ points. I think AJ will find Usyk giving him a lot of problems. I think it'll take him a long time for him to figure him out. But his physical advantages will be the difference in that fight. And I think Fury outpoints Wilder. I don't think he'll go in with the same game plan in the second fight because I think Wilder would be a bit more tentative. I think Wilder's a wounded animal and he's still a dangerous animal. But I think Wilder probably think, in inverted commas, that he can box. And but I think at some point he'll revert to type. But by that point, Fury will start picking him a very healthy points lead. So AJ points, Fury points.
Ander?
Okay, I'll start with the Wilder Fury fight. I don't think Wilder can box at all. He has poor footwork. He has poor balance. He throws wild shots. He has amazing power. Well, that's all he has. He may be the single biggest single punch knockout artist ever in boxing. But that's all he has. He can't box. Fury showed him in that second. Fury showed in the second fight how poor Wilder is. Everyone to that point has been scared of Wilder's power and they've not engaged. Fury took him head on, and because no one's ever done that, Wilder didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
And I don't think he'll learn from that, because I don't think he's capable of learning from that. He's moved trainers, fine. He's blamed his coaches. He's blamed the water bottle. He's blamed his head guard and his ring attire, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, the guy can't fight. He's been handpicked. He's had handpicked fighters to keep that WBC belt as long as possible. So what's going to happen here is exactly what happened in the second fight, if it has to happen. In fact, Fury's probably going to be that mad that he's had to fight him a third time. He'll do it in better fashion this time around.
That's a good perspective.
In my opinion, he beats him. He beats him easier because he's in. Let's remember the Fury Wilder first fight. Fury was well out of shape. He'd fought nobody of any caliber since he lost all that weight. A couple of bum fighters who he looked poor against, and then he goes in with the so-called danger man of boxing, and beats him convincingly, even though it wasn't given as a Fury win, when he's well out of shape. So for me, he's in a million times better shape, a million times better mind space, and he deals with him without any trouble. As for AJ Usyk,
So
I think
a round prediction in that one.
In what? Oh, okay. He beats him before round 6.
Wow. No, it's not how we do it, is it?
Okay, round 5.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, Usyk, AJ. AJ's got a history of not dealing with smaller fighters very well. He struggles to engage. He struggles to understand distance with them. And Usyk's quite an intelligent fighter. Now, he hasn't looked very good since he's moved up to heavyweight, granted. But he's an intelligent, smart fighter. Understands the ring, understands how to use it. If he fights the right fight, he gives AJ lots of trouble and probably goes to points. I think AJ probably wins on points just. But it's a lot closer than I think people give it credit for being. Just because AJ don't deal with smaller fighters very well.
And it's a southpaw.
Yeah.
I'll give my 10 penneth. So, Fury versus Wilder. Fury's outboxed Wilder once where it was a draw when he was massively overweight. And he's walked through him once as well. So, I think he beats Wilder however he chooses to fight him, to be honest. I think it's an easy night's work for Fury. So I'm going round 5. I think he'll punish him. I think he punishes him from the first bell. So that's on record.
Out of interest, sorry, Carl. So you've got the same as me. You just copied what I've said, really, haven't you?
No, I haven't, though, ever. First time ever. So, and looking at the records, I'll bring you along with me, shall I?
So, just out of interest, do you think Wilder's capable of learning anything new from a new trainer?
No.
I don't think it matters who trains him, but that's why I said he'll think
He
he
can't
can
unlearn
box.
certain things he's already got. Like he can't totally just change what he is.
Exactly. Because what he had Adam worked for him until he ran into Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
When he explored a bit more.
Right. To be fair, though, that's because he was fighting average fighters.
Definitely, yeah.
But what I was going to say was he was coming unstuck against Luis Ortiz until he found that punch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was getting found out.
Ortiz ran out of steam as well, didn't he?
Yeah, because he was cashing in on his pension.
And he's
And Ortiz isn't that big enough either, is he? He's not tall like the traditional Fury.
Wilder will beat the majority of the heavyweights. It's just
he
that
would.
Tyson Fury is something a bit special, isn't it?
I don't think he does, though, Carl. I don't think he beats Dillian White. I don't think he beats.
I don't think he beats like a proper good Andy Ruiz.
No, I don't think he beats Andy Ruiz. He probably doesn't beat
I don't think he beats Usyk.
I do.
I think
he beats Usyk. I think the Dillian White fight will be a tricky one on the basis that if he tags Dillian White will forget the game plan and it'll be just a slugfest.
Yeah.
Dillian White's got no discipline. If Dillian White had discipline, then Dillian White could easily beat him. But because Dillian White doesn't, I worry about White. Because White...
Interesting one for you then, Ray.
Mm-hmm.
What about Joe Joyce?
Well, Joe Joyce is really going to be on that jab.
Yeah, I think he's underrated, Joe Joyce. I think at this moment I'd go with Wilder.
I'd probably go with Wilder with that one.
So you think Wilder catches Joyce, but you don't catch White?
The difference is White hasn't exactly got the best defense, though, has he? He leaves himself wide open. He ain't got that discipline.
I think Wilder knocks Dillian White out.
Yeah, and Ruiz too.
I don't think he knocks out Ruiz. I think Ruiz is too skilled. Yeah. I know his last performance wasn't the best, but there's too much about him. Too much skill. Too much. He's too sharp. His hands are too quick for him. I think he ties Wilder in knots.
And then, just to finish my prediction off, if I may.
You finished it. Round 5, same as me. You just copied me, didn't you?
That was Fiore.
Okay, go on. AJ, Usyk and Carl.
Last time I looked, I was pressing the buttons as well. So, I think Usyk's overrated at heavyweight. He's not big enough. He keeps posting photos of scales. I don't know what that's meant to prove. So, AJ, I think he takes him out around round 7. Too big, too powerful. Full stop. I don't give politician answers, Lander.
I think you're for a bit of a shock, mate. I really do.
No, he ain't got it at heavyweight.
Cole, look at the evidence.
I don't care. I just don't think he's good.
Carlos Takam. AJ couldn't deal with Carlos Takam. Andy Ruiz couldn't deal with Andy Ruiz.
He did in the second fight, though.
Yeah, because he fought on the back foot. That's not AJ's style, though, is it? And that's not how he's going to fight going forward. He only fought that way because he was scared, mate.
Well, we'll just wait till the fight, and then we'll say that I'm right again. So, yeah. So,
Graham,
what do you think?
I would just like to ask when Fury beats Wilder, is that Wilder's last fight?
Yeah, where did he go?
It's a massive payday, and that's why he's doing it that's why he's gone to court.
Yep.
Where does he go from there? That's the problem.
It'd be a shame though, because we won't be able to ever see a AJ and Wilder fight.
That's where he might go. Because what might happen is let's say AJ beats Usyk.
Yeah.
You're probably going to get the AJ Fury fight then.
Yeah.
I expect Fury to win that. So that means AJ's then left with no titles. So the biggest payday possible for AJ would be Wilder.
I don't think AJ will get that credit if he was to beat Wilder. Because they'd say, he was too old or...
I think Wilder will fight White at some stage.
I don't think in terms of age are that much different. I mean, we're all talking about boxers in the 30s now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All these for a heavyweight.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, if we're talking about Ortiz and Povetkin still being dangerous at near enough 40, then they're not too old. I think the problem with the Wilder fight, it will, if it happens with AJ later on, it will be like this may not have the clamour it had when these guys had all the belts in the heavyweight division.
Right.
That's the only thing I would say about that fight.
I'm going to bring it to a wrap, guys. So, Graham, I'm going to give the last word to you. Thank you for attending. Is there anything you want to say to the UK viewers before we bring the show to an end?
Thanks very much for inviting me on the show. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you've been great supporters on our side too of our show, Talk and Fight. Good stuff. We've been commenting a lot on the up and coming amateur British fighters that you have. Your development system seems to be second to none, quite frankly. We're really happy to see once again the heavyweights being talked about as champions the way they should be talked about. because there has been a bit of a dip before the Tyson Fury era, let's call it, which has been of recent times. But I'm really happy to see that the British have taken control, if you will, of that scenario, and controlling it and managing it quite well. For a TV viewing audience over here, that is absolutely huge. And when you can pack Arlington Stadium, for example, 70,000 people to watch a boxing match in this day and age, where you're also broadcasting to 10 times that amount online. There's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of eyeballs involved. And I'm talking about real boxing. I'm really happy to hear the quality of heavyweight fighters that are coming out of Britain right now, because when they come across the pond, there's an equal number of big boys over here, not Canadian right now, but on the American side, and certainly I don't think there's any heavyweights down Mexico way. But at the end of the day, I'm really liking what the British are offering the boxing scene right now. It's fantastic.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Graham.
Just, Carl, I know you want to wrap it up. I'm just interested to ask what Graham thinks of what's going to happen in the upcoming Olympics. I know you do a lot, Graham, with Mike on amateur boxing
and Christian,
over in Canada.
Mike's area of expertise is the young undefeated fighters, but mainly professional. I mean, I don't think Mike really talks about the amateurs. Christian, on the other hand, does a daily report on the Olympics and takes to heart a lot of the amateurs from around the world who are competing. And the tournaments have kind of slowed down during COVID. They're beginning to ramp up a little bit towards the Olympics. What I always like about the Olympics are these guys who come out of the blue, people you've never heard of, and all of a sudden some guys winning gold or some gals winning gold who you've never heard of. And so anyway, when we see these tournaments, and you hear about the Uzbeks and people from, whether it be Poland, I mean, I'm not speaking badly of these people. I'm just saying, what? I didn't even know they had a boxing program. Or when we're talking about the Asian Games, I was surprised to hear the Yemenis are putting in fighters. And I'm sitting there going, wow, you think of the countries in the world that are having way bigger economic and political issues than you and I are facing right now.
Yeah.
Yet they're putting boxing teams together, boxing programs together to the point where they're taking people to the Olympics. That's fantastic. It is what the Olympics, and I've always said it, and I've said it since day one, it brings together the best of the best. So we've been reporting a lot on Team GB, Team Graham Boyce, but we've had a lot of fun doing it because the team over there is not letting us down. I mean, they're going into these tournaments. They're having really good fights. They're putting it on the line, and they're beating some of the best in the world. And as Carl has chimed in on our show, take into consideration what this fellow's doing and what this gal's doing. And they're doing a lot. They're bringing the name of the sport up to where it should be as we move into the Olympics.
Yeah. Cheers, Graham. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Adam, anything you want to mention?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was great to just give my views and opinion on.
Always welcome, Adam.
Yeah, more than welcome. More than welcome. Thank you very much. Raymond,
Every Thursday night, Adam.
Every Thursday.
Every Thursday, 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
No worries.
9 o'clock. UK time, that is, I might add. Ray?
No, just to say thanks for Graham coming on with Mike and Adam. Hopefully see you again in the future.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Ander?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Graham. Brilliant to have you on, mate. First time I've met you, but fantastic. It's nice to have a fellow Brit on the show.
And finally for me then. So, Graham, thank you very much. Hopefully we'll come on to your show soon. We might run right a little bit on that Friday night panel if we're all on. But it's good fun. Adam, thank you very much. Like
Thank you once again.
More than welcome as you are, Graham. Graham, your challenge, if you choose to accept it, is to get Christian onto one of these shows. I'd really like to have a bit of a duel with him. So, no further ado. Thank you, guys. Great show again. See you next Thursday at 9 p.m. Good evening.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, guys.